closing stores from Rock Hill to Statesville, so definitely know before you go this morning.
Health inspectors just threw a penalty flag on one local.
You'll find out that the restaurant is closed.
One restaurant on this list raised its prices 7 times in 3 years. The food quality went down every single time. Another chain on this list charges $24 for a plate of pasta that a food critic described in a published review as tasting like it came from a bag in a school cafeteria freezer. We pulled the earnings calls, the bankruptcy filings, the franchise disclosure documents, and the health inspection records. 15 restaurants that are going broke because they got greedy, cut corners, and bet their customers would never notice. Some of them are already gone. The rest are on their way. Keep a tight grip on your wallet. Let's go. Number 15. Denny's used to mean something. Open all night. Coffee that never stopped coming. A grand slam that cost less than a movie ticket. The publicly traded Denny's Corporation decided that affordable was leaving money on the table. A breakfast combo that cost $9 in 2022 costs $14 today. The Grand Slam cost $12 in many locations. A chain built on the promise of the cheap, reliable meal raised its prices until the promise became a lie. Denny's has closed over 150 locations through 2025 and into 2026. Executives have publicly acknowledged that further closures are being evaluated. A regular customer in rural Tennessee who had eaten at the same Denny's every Sunday morning for 11 years wrote in a forum after his location closed, "That place was open the night my father died. Now it is a vacant lot, and the nearest one is 40 minutes away. Open the night his father died. Closed by a corporation protecting a margin percentage." The chain at number 14 did the same thing to a different kind of customer. But the way they did it was more calculated, more cynical, and the paper trail behind it goes all the way to a private equity boardroom. Number 14. TGI Fridays. TGI Fridays filed for bankruptcy in November 2024. The private equity firm controlling the brand was Tri-Artisan Capital Advisors. Tri-Artisan's strategy was textbook extraction. Happy hour scaled back, portions reduced, prices raised. Complimentary extras eliminated one by one until there was nothing left that justified choosing TGI Fridays over a faster and cheaper alternative. A Jack Daniel's ribs entree that cost $16 cost $24. A chain that built its identity around the working-class Friday night celebration repriced itself out of the working class. Tri-Artisan got their exit. The workers got closure notices 2 weeks before Christmas. A server in New Jersey who worked at a TGI Fridays for 9 years described watching it happen in a statement to a local publication. Every year something disappeared. Every year the prices went up. By the end, we were a mid-tier restaurant charging premium prices for food nobody recognized from the original menu. Tri-Artisan took the money. The 9-year server lost her job. If watching private equity firms systematically dismantle beloved American restaurant brands while pocketing the proceeds makes your blood boil, subscribe to this channel right now. We run these investigations every single week, and the extraction playbook never changes. Only the brand names do. Done? Good. Number 13. Red Lobster. Red Lobster's collapse is the most instructive restaurant bankruptcy in recent American history. And most people still do not understand what actually happened. In 2014, Golden Gate Capital acquired Red Lobster and immediately executed a sale-leaseback transaction. They sold 500 restaurant properties, pocketed $1.5 billion, then forced Red Lobster to pay rent on the buildings it used to own outright. Red Lobster went from asset-rich to cash-strapped in a single transaction designed entirely to benefit Golden Gate Capital, before anyone outside the boardroom understood what had been done. Thai Union, the industrial seafood conglomerate, became a major shareholder and primary supplier simultaneously. The endless shrimp promotion that reportedly cost $11 million in a single quarter was not a miscalculation. It was the inevitable result of a supplier who profits from volume pushing maximum product through a partner it also controls financially. A former Red Lobster general manager in Florida described the final weeks to a local news crew. "We were a quarter full on a Saturday night in December. The regulars stopped coming years ago. I think they could feel it ending before we could admit it." Golden Gate Capital extracted $1.5 billion. The server who called her regulars personally to tell them the doors were closing got nothing. What number 12 is going through is different in its causes but identical in its outcome. The dining rooms are emptying. The closure announcements keep coming. And the people who built the brand with decades of daily work are the ones absorbing the consequences. Number 12. Applebee's is owned by Dine Brands Global, publicly traded, answering to shareholders who want margin expansion every quarter. The 2 for $20 deal defined Applebee's for 15 years, 2 entrees, 1 appetizer, $20. It was the entire reason millions of families chose Applebee's over every competing option in their price range. Dine Brands retired it. The same meal now costs $32 in most markets. No announcement, no explanation, just a menu that no longer had the deal that justified the visit. Dine Brands described the departing customers in SEC filings as economically cautious consumers. That is corporate language for people who noticed they were being charged $32 for a meal that used to cost $20 and made a rational decision. A multi-unit Applebee's franchisee in Ohio told a trade publication, "I signed up to run a value brand. Dine Brands turned it into a mid-tier restaurant without telling the franchisees or the customers. We are the ones paying for that decision." Dine Brands collected the royalties. The franchisee absorbed the empty dining room. Applebee's lost the dinner crowd to its own parent company's greed, but what number 11 did involves a different kind of betrayal, one that is quieter, more personal, and hits a customer segment that had very few affordable alternatives left. Number 11. IHOP. IHOP is the second Dine Brands global property falling apart simultaneously. The same publicly traded parent company that retired the 2 for $20 at Applebee's decided pancakes were also underpriced. A short stack cost $9 as a standalone item. A full breakfast combo for 2 cost $30 before tip. A family of 4 was clearing $60 before anyone ordered orange juice. IHOP was built around one identity: pancakes for everyone, affordable, generous, accessible. Dine Brands looked at that identity and saw a pricing opportunity. Dine Brands reported declining traffic across consecutive quarters through 2025. The executives got paid. The pancake customers went to the grocery store, bought a box of mix for $3.49, and made breakfast at home. A grandmother in Georgia, who had been taking her grandchildren to IHOP every Saturday morning for 7 years, wrote in a review, "I took 4 grandchildren for pancakes last Saturday. The bill was $67. I make better pancakes at home for $8. Dine Brands took away our Saturday morning." Dine Brands took away Saturday morning. That is what shareholder-driven margin expansion looks like from the customer's side of the table. 2 brands, 1 parent company, the same greed, applied to the working-class dinner crowd and the Saturday morning family simultaneously. What number 10 did is less about a specific deal being retired and more about a fundamental quality collapse that customers documented in real time and posted online for millions of people to see. Number 10. Chipotle. Chipotle. Mexican Grill is publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Market capitalization exceeding $80 billion at various points in 2024. And the company spent a meaningful portion of 2024 managing a viral crisis about whether they were putting enough chicken in a burrito. Customers noticed the portions getting smaller. The mountain of rice became a hill. The generous protein scoop became a polite tap. Customers brought phones into locations and filmed the assembly of their orders, betting that workers would give larger portions when they knew they were being recorded. Chipotle's CEO went on national television and said customers just needed to give the workers a specific look or a nod if they wanted more food. He told customers that inadequate portions were their fault for not communicating correctly. The company then posted record quarterly profits driven by cost reduction and price increases in the same reporting period. A Chipotle customer in Chicago wrote in a review that accumulated thousands of shares. "The bowl I paid $14 for last Tuesday was visibly smaller than the bowl I paid $10 for in 2021. I photographed both receipts. They are charging more for less and telling us it is our fault. Charging more for less, telling customers it is their fault. $80 billion market cap. Record profits. Empty bowls." The chain at number 9 did something similar, but they added a twist that made the whole thing feel less like a business decision and more like a dare directed specifically at the people who could least afford to push back. Number 9. Olive Garden. Olive Garden is owned by Darden Restaurants, publicly traded. Shareholders want the number to go up. Darden made the number go up by raising prices on a menu built around the idea of generous, affordable Italian dining. The never-ending pasta bowl cost $23. The Tour of Italy entree pushed $28. A family of 4 with drinks, an appetizer, and entrees was clearing $120 before tip at a casual Italian chain. At Olive Garden, the free breadsticks, which were the most beloved symbol of Olive Garden's generosity, became noticeably scarce in 2024 and 2025. Customers reported servers being reluctant to bring additional baskets. The thing that cost Olive Garden almost nothing and meant everything to its customer base was quietly being rationed. Darden's own annual report acknowledged meaningful traffic declines concentrated among lower and middle-income customer segments, the exact segment the brand was built to serve. A longtime Olive Garden customer in Phoenix posted a receipt online with the caption, "This used to be the cheap night out. I don't know what it is now." She does not know what it is now. Neither does Olive Garden. That is the problem. What number 8 did involves a more deliberate deception, not raising prices on an existing product. Charging premium prices for a product that the company knew was not what the marketing claimed. Number 8. Panera Bread. Panera Bread used to mean something specific: fresh bread. Real bakers arriving at 4 a.m. to prepare the day's loaves. A bakery cafe experience that justified the price premium over fast food. Then, preparing for a massive IPO, Panera's corporate owners decided that actual bakers were an inefficient cost. They fired the bakers, replaced the fresh baking process with frozen dough, thawed and heated by minimum wage cashiers. They killed the soul of the bakery to protect a margin line. Then came the charged lemonade, a highly caffeinated drink placed next to regular sodas without adequate warnings. Multiple lawsuits allege that the charged lemonade caused severe cardiac events. In some cases, deaths. Panera pushed a dangerous product specifically because it drove profitable subscription sales. A bowl of soup that cost $8.99 in 2021 crossed $14.99 in most markets by 2025. For a chain that had fired its bakers and was serving thawed frozen bread. If watching corporations fire the workers who made their product worth buying and replace them with cheaper alternatives makes your blood boil, hit that like button right now. Every person who has ever ordered a Panera soup thinking they were getting fresh bakery food deserves to know what Panera actually fired to make that soup cheaper to produce. Done? Good. Number 7. Red Robin. Red Robin is publicly traded on the NASDAQ. Shareholders wanted margin expansion. Red Robin delivered margin expansion by breaking the single promise that made millions of families choose it over every competitor. The bottomless fries. Not just a promotion, an identity. The reason you chose Red Robin instead of the faster and cheaper option down the street. Customers reported servers being significantly slower to offer refills through 2024 and 2025. The bottomless fries became not quite bottomless in practice. An average entree cost $18. A basic burger meal cost $20 with a drink. Red Robin closed over 40 locations in 2025. Same-store sales declined for 6 consecutive quarters. A family in Colorado who had gone to Red Robin for birthday dinners for 12 years wrote in a review, "We paid $23 for a burger that arrived lukewarm and fries that nobody offered to refill. We left and went to a local place. Better food, lower price. We are not going back. Not going back." That phrase appears in so many 2025 Red Robin reviews that it reads like a chorus. Red Robin broke the bottomless promise. The families who built the brand are done. What number 6 is going through involves a different kind of broken promise. Not a promotion retired quietly. A brand identity demolished so completely that the original customers no longer recognize what they are looking at. Number 6. Starbucks. Starbucks is publicly traded. It answers to shareholders. And in 2024 and 2025, those shareholders received something they had been demanding: margin expansion through aggressive price increases. A standard grande latte cost $6. A customized cold brew with additions was regularly hitting $9 and $10. Customers who had been spending $45 a week at Starbucks did the math. They did it out loud, on social media, in front of audiences numbering in the hundreds of millions. Starbucks then announced dynamic pricing technology that could vary prices based on demand and time of day. The same surge pricing model that Wendy's tried to bring to burgers. Now coming to your morning coffee, the backlash was immediate and sustained. Starbucks reported its worst quarterly performance in years through 2025. Transaction counts declined across consecutive reporting periods. A barista in Seattle, who participated in the 2024 union organizing drive, which Starbucks fought aggressively at significant legal cost, described the experience to the National Labor Relations Board. "They spent millions fighting us in court while the CEO collected compensation that would take me 400 years to earn. Then they hired someone new and called it a fresh start." 400 years. Starbucks called it a fresh start. The chain at number 5 did not even bother with a fresh start narrative. They just kept raising prices and cutting portions and described the customers who noticed as the problem. Number 5. Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel is publicly traded. Shareholder pressure has been producing the same outcome it produces everywhere on this list. Prices up, standards down. The connection between the two obscured by marketing language about heritage and tradition. A family of 4 that used to spend $60 at Cracker Barrel was spending $80 by 2025. Then Cracker Barrel did something that revealed exactly how little it understood or cared about the customers who had built its revenue for decades. In August 2025, Cracker Barrel rolled out a new logo. Gone was the old-time figure in overalls. Gone was the rustic Americana aesthetic that had defined the brand for half a century. They hired a San Francisco consulting firm to redesign a brand built explicitly for small-town America. Social media erupted. Loyal customers called it a betrayal. The backlash was so fast and so specific that within 1 week, Cracker Barrel reversed the logo decision. Within a month, they suspended the remodel program and reportedly separated from the consulting firm. But the damage was done. Traffic dropped 8% immediately. A longtime Cracker Barrel customer in rural Virginia wrote in a letter to a regional newspaper, "They hired someone from San Francisco to fix something that was not broken, and broke something that was not fixable by the time they admitted the mistake." Not fixable by the time they admitted the mistake. That sentence is Cracker Barrel's entire 2025 summarized. What number 4 is going through involves less visible damage. No viral logo controversy. No social media storm. Just a slow, sustained decline driven by a pricing model that has made what used to be an accessible family dinner feel like a financial decision. Number 4. Outback Steakhouse. Outback Steakhouse is owned by Bloomin' Brands. Publicly traded. And Bloomin' Brands made the decision that every publicly traded restaurant company on this list has made. They passed every penny of their cost, increases directly to the customer. A standard sirloin entree cost $26. A bloomin' onion cost $11. A couple sharing an appetizer, ordering entrees, and having drinks was clearing $75 before tip. At Outback, Bloomin' Brands' stock collapsed by nearly half in 2025. The CEO stood in front of investors and said the company was, and this is a direct quote from the earnings call, currently not succeeding. You do not hear a CEO say that very often. Meanwhile, Texas Roadhouse and Longhorn Steakhouse, operating in the same economy with the same beef prices, posted strong gains. Customers did not stop eating steak. They stopped eating Outback's steak. A regular Outback customer in Tampa wrote on social media, "Used to be our monthly treat. Now it is a once-a-year splurge, and honestly, it is not worth it even then." Once a year, and not worth it, from a customer who used to go every month. Bloomin' Brands gambled that loyalty would survive a massive price hike. The Tampa customer proved them wrong. The chain at number 3 did something Outback at least avoided. They made the price hike feel personal, directed specifically at the customers who had trusted them the most and had the fewest places left to go. Number 3. Subway. Subway is owned by Roark Capital, a private equity firm that paid approximately $10 billion for the brand in 2023. Roark also owns Arby's, Buffalo Wild Wings, Sonic, and Jimmy John's. When one private equity firm controls that many competing brands simultaneously, each brand becomes a portfolio asset managed for extraction rather than a business invested for growth. The $5 footlong was Subway's single most powerful cultural asset. It was the promise the brand was built on. Roark inherited that promise. Roark had no interest in keeping it. Footlongs now regularly price above $12 in most markets. Subway closed over 1,000 U.S. locations in 2023 alone. Net closures exceeded new openings for consecutive years through 2024 and 2025. A franchise owner in Indiana who closed 2 locations after a decade described the Roark Capital ownership period with the clarity that only comes from having already lost everything. The royalty fees went up. The marketing fund contributions went up. The mandated remodel costs went up. The only thing that went down was the number of customers willing to pay $12 for a sandwich they remember costing $5. Roark Capital paid $10 billion for the brand. The franchise owner lost his livelihood. The customer lost the cheap lunch. Roark kept the fees. What number 2 did involves a more dramatic public failure, one that played out on an earnings call that was meant to impress investors and instead became one of the most widely shared consumer outrage moments in the history of American fast food. Number 2. Wendy's. Wendy's made the single most self-destructive pricing announcement in the history of American fast food. In early 2024, the Wendy's CEO got on an earnings call with investors and announced that the company was investing tens of millions of dollars in digital menu boards capable of dynamic pricing, surge pricing, at a fast food restaurant. The idea was simple and revealing. Charge more for a bacon cheeseburger at noon, when you are hungriest and have the least time to go somewhere else, than at 3 p.m. when the rush has passed. The internet responded with total fury. Within 48 hours, boycott hashtags accumulated tens of millions of impressions. Within a week, Wendy's was in full retreat. They released statements claiming the technology was designed to offer discounts during slow periods. Nobody believed them. You do not invest tens of millions of dollars in AI-powered menu boards to give out discounts. Wendy's had revealed the corporate desire, panicked at the public response, and then asked customers to accept a reframing that contradicted the original announcement. The Wendy's company is publicly traded on the NASDAQ. The surge pricing ambition was not a rogue executive's idea. It was a shareholder value strategy that somebody in a boardroom approved before the CEO put it on an earnings call. A Wendy's franchise operator in Texas, speaking anonymously to a trade publication, described the aftermath. Corporate created a national news story about charging customers more money when they are hungriest. I spent 6 months answering for it at my own counter. People do not forget. People do not forget. The Wendy's company has been managing the consequences of that earnings call ever since. Wendy's showed customers exactly what it wanted to do to them. The customers heard it clearly. But what is sitting at number 1 involves a collapse so complete, so driven by private equity greed, and so damaging to so many people who had nothing to do with the decisions that caused it. Number 1. Red Lobster. The full accounting. Red Lobster appears on this list twice. Once at number 13 for the mechanics of the collapse. Once here because the full human accounting deserves more space than any single entry can hold. When Red Lobster filed for Chapter 11 in May 2024, over 100 locations closed within months. The workers at those locations, servers and cooks and managers who had built careers sometimes spanning 2 decades at a single restaurant, received closure notices. Many of them showed up to find locked doors. One server in Orlando who had worked at the same Red Lobster for 22 years described the final day to a local news station with a clarity that no corporate restructuring press release ever achieves. "I had regulars who had been coming to my section every Friday for 15 years. I called some of them personally because I thought they deserved to hear it from me rather than find a locked door. Nobody from corporate called anyone. Nobody from corporate called anyone." Golden Gate Capital extracted $1.5 billion in 2014 through the sale-leaseback transaction. They exited before the consequences arrived. Thai Union moved maximum shrimp volume and exited before the consequences arrived. The revolving door of executives who collected compensation packages while the brand deteriorated were not in the parking lot the morning the doors locked. The 22-year server was. The new ownership group that acquired the Red Lobster brand out of bankruptcy has announced intentions to rebuild. Those announcements are structurally identical to the announcements made by every distressed restaurant brand acquisition before its final contraction. The market position Red Lobster occupied, affordable seafood celebration dining at prices working families could access for birthdays and anniversaries, no longer exists at the price points the company needs to charge to sustain operations. That is not a turnaround problem. That is an identity problem. And identity problems do not resolve through press releases from new ownership groups. They resolve when a company decides to rebuild trust with the customers it betrayed, one meal at a time, over years. Red Lobster has not shown the operational or financial evidence that this rebuilding is happening. What it has shown is a reduced footprint, continued cost pressure, a brand name that now carries the specific cultural weight of the most visible restaurant bankruptcy in recent American history. Golden Gate Capital got $1.5 billion. Thai Union moved the shrimp. The executives collected their packages. The 22-year server made phone calls to her regulars. None of the people who caused the collapse were in the parking lot the morning the doors locked. None of them ever are. That is the Red Lobster story, not the shrimp, not the endless promotion, not the bankruptcy filing, the people, the ones who showed up every day and built something worth visiting, and the private equity firms and publicly traded parent companies who extracted value from it until there was nothing left to extract. Thanks for watching. If this list hit closer to home than you expected, drop a comment below and tell us which restaurant closure affected you personally. Which one was yours? The one your family went to for occasions? The one that is now a vacant building or a payday loan store or a parking lot? And if you want to see which restaurant chains are actually growing in 2026 while everything above is falling apart, that video is on your screen right now. Click the video on the left. I will meet you there.